Hey, what's going on, everybody? FullFrontage here today, bringing you all a Clash mini video. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over my balance change wish list, and hopefully we'll be able to get a balance change maybe like in February at some point during the month. I think that would be really good. I think the game is in a pretty good spot. This is honestly the most fun I've been having with Clash Mini, but I do think there are some changes that could make the game even better. And let me know what you think of these changes down in the comments section below. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos. So let's hop into it. I actually only have one hero change that I'd like to see. And I'm saying that just because the meta is so spread out right now. It's very versatile. Pretty much every hero outside of Countess and World Champion is really viable. And I think the only reason Countess and World Champion aren't as consistently viable as some of the other heroes that are within the game is just because of the minis that are in the current meta. So more of these balance changes will focus on minis and a couple gizmo changes, but I do think there's one hero change that I would really like to see, and that would be to the Skeleton King. Skeleton King's, I think its kit is pretty good right now. The only thing I would change is its I am back, its second ability, so the revive upon death. Currently, once the Skeleton King revives, it gets at its base level, it gets 6 HP back on resurrection. I think I'd like to see that nerfed down to 4 HP, and then have its first level up, it gives 2 energy per soul. I'd like to spread out that 2 energy over 2 of the levels. So first level, it'd be +1 energy per soul, and then the third level, it would be +1 energy per soul, and then that second level would be +1 HP per soul. So, for example, if a Skeleton King goes down with 2 souls, it's going to be revived with 6 HP because of the base 4, and then +1 each soul, so 2, so that makes it 6. And then it would come back with 4 energy. It would be the +2 per soul over the span of the level 1 ability and level 3 ability. So I think that would make Skeleton King a little bit more fair. I think that's what makes the Skeleton King the best hero in the game, in my opinion, just because of its widespread of versatility and consistency. And what makes it so consistent and dominant is this resurrection ability. So I think tone it down and tweak it just a tiny bit. It realistically, what happens here is it removes probably about like 3 HP that the Skeleton King gets back, which is honestly a huge difference when you're going up against Skeleton King if you're not playing a Skeleton King yourself. And I think it would even make mirror matchups have a little bit more breathing room if for a comeback per se. So I think that would be a really good spot for Skeleton King. Let me know what you think of that change down in the comment section below. Next up, the Knight. We all pretty much agree, based on our last video and what I've asked from the community, that Knight is probably one of the most useless units in the game. It's a worst mini, so I do have a recommendation for it. So I would like to see its Clash ability Taunt turned into a super, and I would like to give it 6 energy, and it only gets energy upon hitting a unit. And then, so it would taunt the larger area, so think of its level 2 ability as the base ability for its super. That's the area that would affect, and that becomes a super. It taunts a large area of enemies for 3 seconds. Its level 1 ability to increase the duration of taunt would increase by 3 seconds, making it 6 seconds when it casts a super. And then its level 3 ability, the bandage, would stay the exact same, but it would get a new second ability called Rally Cry, and it would basically gain 0.1 attack speed for each enemy taunted, and it would gain that attack speed for 4 seconds. So after that 4-second timer goes up, it goes back to its normal attack speed. And this way, the current way the Knight is set up, I think it has 0.9 if I'm remembering correctly. If not, I'll correct it on screen. But basically, it would gain that 0.1 for each enemy taunted for 4 seconds. And again, that would be its super. So you wouldn't be able to put it right in the front, and then it's not Clash ability anymore. So you need to place your Knight more strategically, and it also helps in the later game, makes Knight a little bit more useful because it would be able to get an extra attack speed if it's able to successfully taunt enemies. Maybe that's going to be OP with the larger area, I'm not too sure, but let me know what you think of that change for the Knight down in the comment section below. And next up, we're going to be moving on to the Archer. I think the Archer's base hit per second should be reduced from 0.6 to 0.5, and Archer will also gain a super at its third ability. I think one of the things that make Archer so dominant is over the past few metas with the Barbarian King and with the Barbarian, we've seen a lot of struggles with the Archer. I think it should just have no stat increases for its abilities. So I would replace the Rush ability with a new third ability called Strongbow, which gives the Archer super, and the super will be for 4 energy. Strongbow will basically shoot 2 arrows, 3 arrows if archery is active, so its first ability, and it will hit 1 target, dealing 1 damage per arrow. So this way, its third ability, every 4 hits that the archer gets, because it'll have a pretty much okay attack speed, and it gets 4 energy from being hit and also giving a hit. So that's why it's 4 energy, so it's lower. And then when it hits that energy on that with that super, so it's pretty much every 4 attacks, it'll shoot 2 arrows at 1 target, dealing 1 damage per arrow. And if archery is active, it'll deal 3 damage in total. So I think that would be a cool change for the Archer. It kind of gives that, it still has that like attack buff without actually having it be an attack buff. And it also makes the Archer a little bit more feasible to deal with and not as dominant, I think. So it has a lower hit speed, has energy, and it's able to dish out some damage. So let me know what you think of that change down in the comment section below. Next up, we have the Spear Goblin. I think the Spear Goblin needs a little bit of a tweak. Some people rated it as one of the worst minis in the game. So this is the idea that I had for Spear Goblin. Its base hits per second should go down from 0.6 to 0.55, and it should get a plus 0.155 per level instead of the plus 0.1. So basically, at max level, its hits per second was 0.9. With this new change, its hit per second is actually 1. So it would get 1 hit per second. So a little bit of a overall buff to this attack speed of the Spear Goblin. And then I also think its second ability, new second ability, should be changed to something called Second Spear. And the Spear Goblin will throw another spear forward every 4 attacks. Now, it might sound powerful, but it only throws it forward. So the Spear Goblin, let's say you put it in the far right row, in its clash ability, it throws that spear. Every 4 attacks, it'll just throw another spear in that exact same row. So you still basically just avoid the Spear Goblin. You just don't load up the row that the Spear Goblin's in. And it'll cause a little bit more playability and mind games with the Spear Goblin. Maybe that's strong. Maybe it should just be a second spear, and it's one of those things that happens like once per round. Oh, I almost just fell back in my chair. It just happens like once per round, kind of like the Barbarian King's shield or the Archer Queen's invisibility, something like that. I think I'm okay with either or. Let me know what you think is better down in the comment section below. Next up, we have the Lumberjack. I think Lumberjack's Rage Potion radius upon clash and upon KO should be changed to just surrounding units. So basically where the Lumberjack is, it's just each square around it, including diagonals, instead of having it be the 2 up, the 2 to the right, the 2 to the left, and back. I think that would put a Lumberjack in a pretty decent spot. Skeleton Guard, I think its shield up should be changed, duration should be changed from 4 seconds to 6 seconds, making the Skeleton Guard a little bit more of a threat, and make it a little bit more usable. Then we have the Fisherman. Fisherman, I would like to see its hook ability become a super instead of a clash ability, and just have it target the furthest enemy. And the Fisherman gains, so it would have 5 energy. It would need 5 energy to cast the super, and it's only when the Fisherman hits the enemy. So it can only happen when you hit the enemy. That's when it gains energy. So 5 hits. It currently has a hit per second at base at 0.45, which means it would realistically take probably like 8 to 10 seconds for the Fisherman to actually get a super off at base level, which means that the Fisherman isn't like casting it like 5 times per hit or 5 times per round. It's realistically only doing it like maybe once to twice, unless you start to invest in the Fisherman. And then its new second ability, so it would get rid of the 3 across. It's only a single target because it just targets the furthest enemy. Its new second ability would be Fish Slap, and it'll just be a small chance to deal +1 damage. So a small chance it would do 3 damage instead of 2 damage. What do you think of that change for the Fisherman? Let me know down in the comment section below. Next up, we have the Musketeer. I think the Musketeer needs a little bit of a nerf. I would reduce its hits per second from 0.65 to 0.55 and also increase its energy to 5. This way, its third ability doesn't automatically give it a super after the first 2 seconds in a round. The Musketeer would still need to get a shot off, so that way it doesn't get its super off as quickly. Next up for the Healing Ranger, I would just change the Inspire duration to 5 seconds instead of 3 seconds. I think the biggest problem with the Healing Ranger right now is that the Inspire, by the time it casts, it doesn't really last for a long time. I think increasing its duration would make it a little bit more usable and viable to outplay some stun-based or control-based decks. So I would like to see the Healing Ranger's Inspire duration increased a little bit. For the Battle Healer, I would say that the Battle Healer only gains energy on hits that it delivers. So currently the Battle Healer will gain an energy if it hits a unit, and if something hits it, it'll also gain an energy. Remove it when something hits the Battle Healer. I think this would also make Royal Ghost give an indirect buff to the Royal Ghost, because the Royal Ghost can constantly go invisible, which means if you have a Royal Ghost on a Battle Healer, when you're hitting the Battle Healer isn't continuously healing. It's just stationary. The Royal Ghost is invisible. Battle Healer doesn't get any heals off, which means that the Royal Ghost can outplay a Battle Healer, which might bring Royal Ghost back into the meta. So I'd really like to see that change for the Battle Healer, and I'd also like to see the Battle Healer's energy increase to 5 from 4. Next up for the Witch, I would really, I know a lot of people have been asking for this, and I don't know if it's a coding issue or what, so maybe the Clash Mania team can provide some insight. Don't let the skeletons from the Witch trigger boast abilities. If the World Champion throws a shield and it hits a unit and then bounces to a skeleton, kills the skeleton, if it doesn't kill the main unit, the World Champion should not get the shield bounce back. If Archer kills a skeleton, it should not trigger its boast ability to give it +1 attack. Things like that, skeletons should not trigger boast ability. Same thing for the Valkyrie. This would be an indirect nerf to Valkyrie, and also be, as without even changing the Witch stats, I think this would be a really good buff to the Witch. What do you think? I know a lot of people have been asking for it, but what do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Next up, we have the gizmos. So I have 4 gizmos that I'd like to see different. Wartoot is maybe it's because we're in a little bit of a control-based meta, but Wartoot is ridiculously strong. It needs to be nerfed. Right now, its radius is 5 rows, which is absolutely insane. Bring the radius back to what it was before you change, like the 2 up, the 2 to the left, 2 to the right, 2 down, and then 1 in the diagonal corners. So it's basically surrounding and then like a extra plus. Bring it back to that, and then for this one, Unstoppable, put the immune to all enemy control effects. So right now, if you're playing Wave Master and you choose Wartoot as a gizmo for your Wave Master can't throw the unit to the other side, because that's technically a control effect. So I'd like to see the Wartoot changed so that it only prevents enemy control effects, not your own control effects. So that way you can still launch something with the Wave Master if you want. This would also allow a lot more versatility with gizmos that you can choose to pair with the Wave Master. So those are the changes that I'd really like to see to Wartoot. King Tower, I'd like to see a decrease in hits per second. I don't think we know exactly how quickly it targets because we don't have the stats on it, but I'd like to see the King Tower attack a tiny bit slower. I think that would be a little bit better. For the Sauna, Sauna is insanely strong. Right now, once the unit goes into the Sauna, it takes 5 seconds and then the unit comes back. I would say change that to 4 seconds. So after 4 seconds that the unit's put into the Sauna, the unit comes back with a superpower, and then superpower wears off after 5 attacks. So don't let it stay super for the entire time. As soon as it hits 5 times, its superpower goes away. It doesn't have the increased damage, doesn't have the increased attack speed, doesn't have the increased health, whatever. Get rid of the superpower after it hits 5 times. The point of the Sauna, I feel like, is it's literally a gizmo that's a resurrection tile, but it's also like a Barbarian King on steroids. Like, you just need to tone that down and don't let E-Wizards, miners, which whatever archers you can put into the sauna, musketeers, don't let them be absolutely insane. The opponent needs a chance if they're playing against Sauna, especially in Rumbles, because it's all random. If your opponent has a Sauna and you didn't get to choose it, you're pretty much at a big disadvantage. And this way, with the Sauna having the increased or the decreased amount of time that it spawns a unit back in, this is also an indirect buff against King Tower, especially if the King Tower does get a decreased hits per second. That means even if you don't get a unit into the Sauna right away, King Tower isn't going to immediately destroy the Sauna, it'll keep it around. So a little bit of a balance there between King Tower and Sauna, and I think that would make Sauna a lot less oppressive as well. Next up, for the last change, I would like to see a change to the pocket artillery. I call it the pocket rocket. I would have its damage decreased to 8. Currently, its damage is 10. And then it has such a huge radius. But I would like to say, so the pocket artillery targets one specific unit. That's the unit that it goes to, and then it has splash damage. I would say, so decrease the damage from 10 to 8. And then the unit that it's targeting, that unit receives 8 damage, and then anything in the splash zone will receive 5 damage. So it's less damage to the other units, but it still has direct damage to the unit that it was targeting, and it's decreased so it's less oppressive against things like World Champion and Archer Queen, and potentially like range units that you have in the back when you're playing a melee hero. I think that would make the artillery less oppressive, but still a pretty good spot because it has that wider area of effect. And then also, if it's targeting a high health unit, you still get some damage onto the supporting units, because most of the time any supporting units around it don't have a lot of health left, or just have a lot of health in general. So you want to make sure that it's kind of balanced in that way. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed. This was a little bit of a longer one, but I feel like I needed to go into detail about my thoughts for the changes and kind of explain it to get my point across and what I was thinking with these. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe for more content, and don't forget to turn that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you later. Peace out.